and we have to really reorient how we see our lives, that it should be the prayer that is established, the prayer which is the pillar of our lives, and then we fit in our lives in between. And that one of the best places you really see this in real life manifesting itself is when you go to Mecca, or you go to Medina, and when you have, and the conversation is, it's never even meet at X, Y, and Z time. It's always, we're going to meet after Asr, or we're going to meet before Dhuhr, or we're going to do this after Maghrib. And the whole concept is completely different. It's not about, before or after a meeting, but it's before or after a prayer. That our life is really organized around these established pillars. And so the prayer should be those pillars establish, and then everything else goes around those. And this just brings us back to the ultimate purpose that we have. It's just bringing us closer to that purpose. Why are we here anyways? I mean, shouldn't we ask? We're here, we've been put on this earth, and we haven't been put on this earth for no reason. We've been put on this earth with a very specific role and a very specific purpose, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly states, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And we have not created jinn and human beings except to worship, except to serve and know and love God, to fulfill ubudiyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is our one and only purpose, ultimately. So how is it that we're going to put aside our purpose in order to go to the mall or watch a movie or play a game? The idea here, or check out someone's profile on Facebook, that we have put aside the very purpose of why we were put on this earth, in order to do these things which will not benefit us, but in most cases harm us on the Day of Judgment, and at the time when it really matters, and all of the fleeting things of this life have passed away. Those are the things that are going to matter. Whether or not we establish the prayer in our lives, both individually, on the family level, community level, collectively, as well. That this is what's going to benefit us when it really matters. And this is, again, we're told of this by the Prophet ﷺ, and he tells us in a number of ahadith that the very first thing we are asked about on the Day of Judgment is our prayers. And there's different relations of different ahadith to this effect, but that once the prayers are checked over, and if the prayers are all right, then that person will have succeeded. But if the prayers are not, then that person will have failed. So we have to realize that the very heart of our issue usually can be seen in the prayer. That the dhikr itself, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it is deficient, then everything else falls apart. And that's when we start to see those other symptoms that we spoke about at the beginning. And so we have to come back to that connection with God through His remembrance and through His worship as He has prescribed. Inshallah, we will go ahead and take another short break now. And when we return, continue on the topic of spiritual CPR.
غرباء 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 غرباء.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yasmin Mujahid, and you're listening to Serenity, streaming live on One Legacy Radio. We are talking today on the topic of spiritual CPR, that question that we often have of what am I doing wrong? I have this problem or that problem. What really am I doing wrong? Why do I not feel close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why am I so confused? Or why am I always being disappointed? Why do I have these symptoms, both emotional and psychological? And what is it that I'm doing wrong? So we've talked today about, we were reflecting on two of the ayat from Surah Ar-Rum, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the nature of the human being as being that one would turn their whole self to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to His religion, to His deen, to the way of pure monotheism. Ultimately, La ilaha illallah, that there's nothing worthy of our worship and ultimate love or sacrifice or fear or hope except God Himself. And how is it that we stray from that so easily or so often? That's what we're speaking about today. And the next ayah, ayah 31 of Surah Al-Rum, talks about specific things that are necessary ingredients to sticking on that path of fitrah. And